This is The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield from the Lynn Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Michael provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield. And I'm Tana Pennington, and I hope everyone's staying warm out there. I feel like it's very cold no matter where you live.
Yeah, it's been chilly.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to go to an investment conference this week on Wednesday in Tennessee, and it's like in the 20s.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pack.
Yeah. Layer up. Yeah.
I'm terrified. So
get your long johns out.
I'll see what happens. Well, good. Well, happy Martin Luther King Day, everybody. Yeah. I always forget it's such a major holiday. Like, I come to the office, right? And there's no cars in the parking lot.
Everything's closed that we do business with.
And
so
I hate work days when the stock market's closed. I don't
closed.
know why it is. There's just something funky about that. Because when I turn my head to watch, CNBC, they're running a special on
boring
how Usher's preparing for the Super Bowl. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's low on my serotonin pole.
Funny.
Right? But hey,
my husband actually flew Usher the last time when the Super Bowl was in Dallas. Yeah, I know.
Go, Tana.
Crazy, huh?
Here we go.
Little FYI.
Jeez Louise. That's funny. I didn't know.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
No. Rubbing elbows. Anyways, down to business. We got some things to talk about. We're going to start with a quiz for Tana.
Oh, great.
I hope you're excited, Tana.
Absolutely.
All right.
I love quizzes.
Problems. I've solved it. I solved them actually in the sauna this morning at the gym at LA Fit. I did. So I was sitting in there and I was talking to someone. By the way, don't talk to me in the sauna. Brutal honesty.
Awkward.
I like my moment to just sit there and, have some breathing exercises. People love to talk about weird stuff in the sauna. Just, I don't know. It's just not my thing. But in any case, someone made a comment about Jeff Bezos and that he has too much money and what a butthead. And that's not really fair. And, if he could just find it kind in his heart to pony up a little bit of it, it would solve some of the world's problems. And that's the irony of actually capitalism. Everyone's got a very different opinion on what capitalism is. Is it a perfect system? No. Is it about the best system that's available to us? Probably. Without capitalism, I'd be using my old calculator as my phone still. Probably. But I have the rotary.
Your phone would be plugged into the wall.
Right. Something like Amazon. What a unique blessing on earth when it came to things like COVID. Things like Netflix. All of these technologies and driven things through capitalism that have made our world more efficient. That people like to harp. Oh, they make too much money. It's not fair. But then again, you have no problem just sucking up their service. Right. I mean, geez, the biggest, I got like a Ring doorbell kind of thing. So I get all the stupid chimes all day. And you look, and it's Amazon. Like, holy guacamole. Anyways, so I'm gonna take this person's opinion though, and say, you know what, Jeff Bezos is a butthead. In fact, all the rich dudes are a butthead. So Tana, I'm gonna ask you a quiz question. The Forbes 400 list. So those are the 400 wealthiest individuals. They're wealthy dudes. That's not fair. How they got all the money? I want some of that. I don't have a private jet like Tana. I don't get to fly around with Usher like Tana's husband. I want these things in my life. So let's start with confiscation, right? That seems reasonable. What if we went to the Forbes 400 list and we confiscated all of their money? We just took it all. You know what? You guys stink. You had your fair share. We're going to take that from you. We're going to call it even. Have a nice day. That represents about $4.5 trillion. Do you have any clue how long, if we confiscated all of that money, how long that would run the government for?
Maybe a year and a half.
So you're actually not off too far. 8 months.
Oh, 8 months.
Right. You go take Jeff's money,
That's a lot of money.
Bill's money, take everybody's money, all these rich people.
Oh,
we could only run the government for 8 months. So the solution in the sauna was, hey, if we could peel this off of these buttheads,
all right,
it will solve our problems for 8 months.
For 8 months.
See, the problem isn't who has the money. Maybe that's not helpful. The problem is the government spending is so far out of control that you could get all the money. Okay, let's take it a step further. You can tell I'm fired up about this topic. Tax the rich. Okay. What if, let's go a different approach. Maybe confiscation's me. No, that was unfair of me.
Yeah, that's terrible. Right.
What if instead we raised the taxes? So if we looked at the 37% tax bracket, that's the highest tax bracket in the United States, the federal tax bracket. There's the better part of 1 million people in the United States. So way bigger pool of people than the Forbes 400 list, where it was only 400 people. So what if we took the top earners? Not fair. That's not fair either, right? They shouldn't be making so much more money than everybody else. They shouldn't be in that top tax bracket. So what if instead for them, we took everybody who's in the 37% tax bracket, we raised their taxes to 100% federally. We're taking it all because it wasn't fair. We're taking it all. We're taking it all. Okay. If you did that on this almost 1 million tax returns in the United States, much bigger pool of people. How long do you think we could run the government for with something like that? Collecting 100% of their tax revenue.
3 years?
Oh, you were much closer with the first one. See, in your mind, you're like, it's got to be a lot of money.
I know. I'm kind of thinking
the government for a little over 1 month, 33 days right now.
1 month?
If you took everybody and you collected 100% of their tax revenue, you bring in about $600 billion a year more than we're currently bringing in. And you could run the government for a month. For a month. Wow. So every time everybody wants to put out this noise of, oh, we should just tax people more and those rich people, it's not fair and blah, 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 blah. You know what? Everybody needs to wake up to a little bit of facts and reality on the way math works. The reality is the issue is not those things. The issue is the government spending is beyond out of control. All right, time for pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. So here it is. Here's federal spending versus revenue since the 50s. And you'll notice the orange line on this top chart is how much we're spending. The blue line's how much comes in. And this is all hedged for inflation. So you kind of notice the blue line's kind of always the same-ish. You know, it goes up and goes down, but it kind of moves sideways. And, you know, different time periods, certainly different tax rates over time. And from the 50s all the way to, you know, the late 70s, the orange and blue line were pretty close to each other. We always kind of, you know, we had a deficit, we had a surplus, we had a deficit, we had a surplus. The 80s, things opened up a little bit. That's where we had some very strong hyperinflation issues going on, kind of what's happening right now. By the 2000s, we got to a temporary surplus again for the moment. And then we said, that was boring, everybody. Let's spend some money. And you notice ever since then, it's just been kind of blown up. And really since 2008 was the big kicker. And this thing's been widening up.
It's interesting to see that visually, though. Like,
yeah, but something has changed, right? It's the policy, it's the attitude. Things have changed. You kind of see it here too, is, you know, these little orange bars on this middle chart, kind of same exercise. You know, what percentage of the GDP is going towards the deficit? And so you can kind of see there wasn't really many little orange lines for a long time. And then it got a little bigger in the 80s when inflation was stronger, like I said. And now we're at a point where we run about a 6.5% deficit to our GDP, about a $1.7 trillion deficit last year. It's a lot of money. You know, from 1950 to 2008, there was never one single year that we had a deficit anywhere close to that. I mean, it's crazy. And all of a sudden, we have these massive deficit spending years since 2008. It has really gotten out of control. Now, what people say is, well, it's okay because we're bringing in more tax revenue. Things are working well. And so if you're going to talk about the health of GDP and all of that kind of stuff, we look at how much is the interest relative to our GDP. So what are we spending a year? And you kind of see on this lower chart, the orange bars were at about 3%. What that's saying is the cost to service our debt back in the 80s was about 3% of our GDP. And then what's happened since the 80s with interest rates, Tana? What have they been doing?
Going down. Very low.
Tana got a loan at like what, 0.75% on her house or something,
well, a few years ago.
Yeah, interest rates have crashed. Yeah. And so the opportunity to refinance that debt and get lower interest rates really started to work well during these, we'll say, Federal Reserve almost wartime interest rate things where they drop rates to zero for a long time. So we saw this dramatic decline in the cost to service the debt. And even though our debt was growing, people are saying, yeah, but who cares, man? It's such cheap and easy money. Oh, it feels good. I love it. Woo. And so because it was so cheap to create it and refinance it, since 2010 at the bottom of this chart, they just kept printing and printing and making more debt and making more debt, saying, man, it's awesome. Why? Who cares? Right? Well, things have finally changed. And we have this skyrocketing in the cost to service the interest. In fact, we're basically back to all-time highs at the moment. And it's just getting warmed up, right? Yeah. It's back to all-time highs. And we're just in the infancy period of refinancing this debt at higher interest rates. This really lends into a lot of conversations that Tana and I have been having with all of you over the last year or two. And that is, as the Fed starts to reconsider cutting interest rates, I think it's a double-edged sword. The Fed wants to cut interest rates because it's politics, it's political season. So I get that. But they know that they're in a pickle. If they keep interest rates where they're at or have to raise them more to deal with inflation, this chart blows up and we have a major problem. And so they're trying to battle that. But the problem is if they cut rates too soon, as they're starting to promise to do, and inflation's not completely under control, guess what happens to inflation? It spikes. Where does inflation go? Yeah, kind of goes back to this. We're going to have another extension because when they start printing money, all of a sudden this orange line is going to turn back up. All of a sudden this blue line is going to gap back up. The inflation is going to still be in the system, and we're going to keep forcing prices higher with easy money. So it is going to be a wild show. Anyways, I guess we already talked about the debt. Well, gosh, what else was there, Tana? I guess I thought that was going to take longer.
Well, no, scroll back down. The one about where they take if there's a surplus in, like, say, the Social Security program.
Oh, yeah.
That's very interesting because a lot of people are very concerned about Social Security running out and it's not going to be there when they, want to start taking it.
That's the funny part. We have problems with Social Security funding currently because the ratio of workers to non-workers and demographics is changing.
Right.
But on top of it, we still owe Social Security technically almost $3 trillion internally of money we don't even have. We've got a $34 trillion deficit. There's no money. There's no tax revenue. We're running deficits every single year. I mean, it's shocking. And so you're right, since I started doing this about 20 years ago, they've talked about Social Security having a problem, right? It's underfunded by 2033 or 35 or whatever the thing was at the time. We're going to have these mandatory cuts. And we just keep getting that fast forward. It's been 20 years I've heard about this, right? Well, geez, we're only 9 years out now. So think about your own personal savings, Tana. You ever hear these anecdotal things where like, hey, if you started saving $10 a month when you're 20, you'll have $1 million when you're old. Or if you wait till 50, you got to save 10 grand a month instead of $10. And so I look at the Social Security issue the exact same way. Is we've been talking about this for many years and we've done nothing, but the deadline keeps getting closer and closer and closer, which means the solution to fix it is just getting uglier and uglier and uglier if nobody will just deal with it. you know, and they've got a lot of things they chitty chat about, you know, hey, let's just tax the rich. Hey, there's another one, right? Anyone who makes over 400 grand, let's put an unlimited amount of social security tax on them. Obviously that would be a huge tax increase to those pesky rich people. They want to do a payroll tax increase potentially. Tana, they want to make your full retirement age instead of 67. They probably want to make it like 89 or maybe 103
when I'm dead.
So you're going back to original Social Security, right? Like Social Security was the most genius thing ever created. Hey, 100 years ago, let's give someone a benefit at 65 because everybody's dying at 64. You know, if anybody ever actually gets on this, we'll have to pay them for like 3 hours. This is gonna be, it's like all the money we're gonna collect. This is incredible. This is incredible. You know, and since then, obviously, life expectancies have burned all the way up into the 80s, but those age factors haven't kept up with it. So you know, who knows what the solution is, but you kind of nailed it. I mean, without some fiscal responsibility in this government, without some reevaluation of some of these programs and funds, it's a problem. And I see both sides of the argument. Most people are underfunded for retirement. So Social Security is a primary driver. They need the money. They can't afford a cuts. But unfortunately, if you go read about the history of Social Security, it was supposed to be supplemental income, not primary income. And most people, you know, through the inability to, you know, because things are expensive and life happens, they didn't have the ability to save what they needed outside of this. It's now a primary income source for a lot of people. So we'll see what happens, but geez, thanks for bringing up that depressing note.
Sorry.
Jeez. Anyways, Happy New Year again.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of it for today. We'll kind of wrap it up from there. As always, we appreciate all the viewers, listeners, the interesting feedback we get. If anybody has any questions, opinions, concerns, curiosities, obviously call us 805-500-7035. Visit our website, thelindgroup.com. No big deal. But otherwise, I hope everybody has a wonderful week and stays warm. I'll be in Tennessee going. So we'll see you guys around. Bye, Tana.